Hello and welcome to That's Opera. Trigger warning right at the top. There will be no musical examples in this video. I know. It will be just talking a lot and reacting to someone who is talking a lot as well. So buckle up and hopefully enjoy this video. And haha, if you have a thing for German drama codes from the 18th century,
who hasn't?
Then stick to the end of this video. It's a great one. Today I want to talk about traditions in opera and classical music which are either important or outright stupid, depending from where you are coming from.
That's none of your business.
Okay. These 5 traditions are using original language in opera, modern directing, silence during a performance, no eating or drinking during a performance, and advertising and modern directing again. Do we like these traditions or not? We shall find out. The aforementioned talker I'm reacting to is a woman called Kate, and it was she who came up with this list of 5 probably unloved traditions. Kate is a former opera singer with a channel here on YouTube called Scores Unstitched. I put the link in the description, of course. As you will see, Kate is very passionate when it comes to opera, and so am I. So this can be interesting. I would be happy to learn what you guys think about these 5 traditions Kate is not so fond of, and about my thoughts about it. So please unscrew your fountain pens, dust off your typewriter or whatever you use to write on the internet, and let me know in the comments. And please watch Kate's video in its full length. I couldn't react to each point she makes or my video would be way too long. Let me know if you feel that I chose the wrong snippets or have been unfair by leaving out others. Let's start.
Specifically, there are 5 traditions that opera has hung on to that just make me want to let it die.
Oh please, why don't you let us know how you really feel?
This is operatic Scientology. What kind of power trip is this?
I have never thought that I would ever utter these words, but poor Scientologists.
It's not worth it. I know it's not worth it.
Okay, you do? How?
Whole casts and conductors and audience members that are all sitting there for 3.5 hours listening to this language that not one single person speaks.
Again, how do you know that? And is it, if true, really that big of a problem? Is it a bit of work for the audience to learn about opera? Sure. But I can't see that as a bad thing. If you want to enjoy, for example, ping pong, you would have to practice several hours as well before you enjoy to the full extent, I imagine.
And so you're just looking up at the super titles for like 3.5 hours. It's exhausting. It's exhausting.
Okay, I think we are all part of the Netflix, Hulu, Amazon Prime, etc. generation who is used to subtitles, right? And if you are not sitting on the expensive seats at orchestra level, and why would you, but are enjoying the performance from the balcony, you will have quite a good and easy angle for the supertitles if they are projected above the stage. And most of the opera houses, though, at least in Europe, have a little monitor, a little display right in front of you anyway. Or at least project the supertitles to the left and right of the stage onto the portal, right in the eyeline of most audiences.
This drives me nuts. Like, none of us like to spend literal years of our lives learning how to speak all these languages.
Isn't that a bit extreme? Nobody needs to invest years of learning before seeing Rigoletto or Carmen for the first time. A 5-minute read in Wikipedia or the stage bill will tell you all you need to know, the basic storyline. That, together with the supertitles, should be more than enough to be caught in the magic of the music and the stage. Would you enjoy it even more if you had intimate knowledge about that specific opera and speaking Italian or French?
I told you that my French sucks.
Sure, but luckily we don't have to be specialists in order to enjoy opera.
You can tell me I'm wrong. I'm not.
Okay.
But you probably live in a free country. It's all just, ah. Like, I cannot sit here and honestly tell you that that was 5 different vowels.
This one came as a surprise. Using Leontine Price as example for bad pronouncing during singing, I'm not sure I understand what this has to do with singing in original language.
On that subject, let's talk about this. I cannot tell you the number of times that I have gone to one of my teachers and asked, how come we pronounce things differently when we sing that are different from the way that native speakers say the word? You know what their answer was? It's just the way we do things.
Oh yeah, okay, I'm sorry. I'm sorry you had this kind of negative experience. But in the end, that's just anecdotal evidence and not applicable to vocal teaching in general. I teach at the University of Music myself and can assure you that none of my colleagues ever reacted like this. Oh no, it's awful.
And this is not a problem exclusive to opera. I'm looking at you, pop singers, anytime after 2018. I can't understand what you're saying. I don't want to see the album. What am I supposed to do? Am I supposed to like go on Genius Lyrics and use brain capacity to like read while I'm trying to listen and enjoy? No.
Using brain capacity can be quite pleasant, so why advocating that everything on stage has to be pre-chewed and pre-digested? The brain is a muscle, and it's fun to train it.
Maybe that if a French person says regardez, we don't then sing ragada, you know?
Ragada, ragada. That sounds good to me.
The next potential trip up will be the libretto. Like most operas, the libretto for Turandot is poetry. So when you're reading the supertitles, they're not going to translate the Italian poetry into normal 21st century English. It's going to feel like you're back in English lit class, but I promise you, it is so worth it to do a little bit of that interpretive work, because listen to how beautiful some of these translations are. Si profumo di lei l'oscurità, the darkness is scented with her perfume. Shut up.
Oh yes, I completely agree. It's breathtakingly beautiful. Puccini envisioned his Turandot. Check out Kate's video about Turandot to get into this little aside. Puccini wrote Turandot in Italian and Wagner his Tristan in German. I am all for original language, but I can totally see the advantage to perform in the language of the audience as well, especially in smaller theaters with an audience who is not as familiar with the repertoire as the audiences in Paris or Chicago or Vienna. To quote my old buddy Einstein, it's all relative.
Opera tradition number 2 that drives me crazy is changing the setting. Like taking a show that's set in a specific time and place and then changing it for absolutely no reason. I'm talking about like going to see Hansel and Gretel and the director says, I don't want this gingerbread house. You know what audiences really want? Dinosaurs. In space.
With your kind of fantasy, maybe you should consider a career in directing, because sadly I'm not aware of any Hansel and Gretel production with dinosaurs in space. I would pay good money to see that.
Nowhere else in content are people just ignoring a setting.
Well, it happens all the time in drama and movies and paintings as well. It happens whenever actual living people generously share their view of the world with us. And in my opinion, that's something to be grateful for.
Like, why stop there? Why not just ignore the plot altogether? Why not just like throw out the music?
Oh la la.
I mean, I can like kind of empathize with how this came to be, right? Operas are new when they're written, so it's still interesting, but then it gets to be like 50 years later, and so you're getting tired of stuff. So like maybe you switch up a costume here, or like, I don't know, a decade there, and then, you know, you get 100 years down the line and you've got Lion King in China.
We stage operas in a different way because we have seen them often and it gets boring. Yeah, that might be a part of it, absolutely. But I think there is more behind it than just that. I think the idea behind many modern productions is comparable with ballet. The dancers there wear very simple and reduced costumes which show every muscle and let us see the beauty of the dancer's movements. Maybe in the same way, modern opera productions are simpler and stripped down in order to let us focus more on the actual emotional and intellectual drama. Might be, right?
Call me crazy, but I kind of feel like performances should be for the people who are watching.
Yes, that's very true, but please take into consideration that there could be between 1,000 and 4,000 people in an auditorium. Thousands of individual people and characters and preferences. Take, for example, Carmen. Is there one opinion about what it actually means to be seductive or sexy or dangerous? Of course not, because that's something deeply, deeply personal and different for each and everyone, and thank God for that. So, who is the audience we should perform for? Should we take a survey among the subscribers before we schedule a new production? I don't think so. Democracy is great when it comes to how to live as a society. But art is not democratic, and it shouldn't be. Give the people what they want? I don't know. Art should make us think and feel, should make us mad and bring us joy, but it's not in the job description of art to please some vague majority. People hated La Traviata in the beginning. Many operas and books and paintings were not an immediate success when they came out. And it took us time to understand and finally love them. I think the same goes for modern directing. Not everything is great or even good. But I guess one can say the same thing about traditional productions, right?
I support that innovation is necessary to keep art relevant.
I like where this is going.
Rules are there to be broken, sure.
I like it even more.
But some rules are in place for a reason. Like they've stood the test of time. Things like storytelling.
I'm not sure I would agree to this. Is storytelling against the wishes of the people? In my opinion, we have to take into consideration that storytelling has inevitably to change with time because it is done by people who live in a very specific moment of time. 150 years ago, when many of our beloved operas were written, storytelling was done, of course, differently than it is done today. I'm not saying we are doing it better now. But so many things have happened in our amazing world since La Bohème was composed. Sigmund Freud made a mess of our subconscious. Picasso painted noses next to ears. 2 world wars devastated the world. DNA got decoded. The Cold War happened and went away and is now back and not so cold anymore. We lived through a pandemic. We have the internet with all its possibilities and abysses. And lately we have AI and so on and on and on. We are no longer the same people we were 150 years ago. So of course, our storytelling has to be different. And in 10 or 20 years, stories will be told completely different again by people who live in 10 or 20 years.
Well, no, yeah, like I paid for Bohemian Paris, but they gave me Wall Street instead, and I just thought that was brilliant.
Well, I at least can absolutely imagine that the audience would find it delightful to go to La Bohème expecting to see Paris Montmartre circa 1890 and then find out that the drama works just as well in modern New York. And I can imagine as well that there's an emotional and intellectual disappointment when the curtain goes up and you think to yourself, well, that's exactly how I or my Uncle Bob would have done it too. Isn't it the arts and the theater's job to surprise us, to show us something beyond our own limited imagination? Art is a little bit like dating. It's risky business and a bit dangerous in the sense that your expectations are not always met. Sometimes you get disappointed, but sometimes you get highly rewarded too for being willing to take a risk. Without this openness to new experiences, life would be a lot more boring and grey, wouldn't it?
If you're looking at Romeo and Juliet one day and you think to yourself, you know what this needs? Superheroes. Take a step back. Just, put on some lo-fi, make some tea, go for a walk. Everyone has crazy thoughts. It doesn't mean that you have to charge people to see yours.
Whew, that's a bit harsh. Let's rather move on to the next chapter.
And we are all such butt heads about it. This tradition of not making any noise during a production, like not being allowed to be human, not being allowed to like be musicking with the people on stage, and instead we're trying to reproduce this like recording studio level of silence.
I don't know, why do we have to be so mean to the concept of silence? Isn't it a fantastic feeling of community and belonging, sitting quietly together in a dark auditorium, watching together, listening together, being enchanted by the magic of music and theater together, hundreds and thousands of your fellow human beings coming together, united in the idea that my personal freedom ends where my neighbor's starts, and of course vice versa, that for a change it is not about me and my need to act out every impulse crossing my mind. What is the alternative? Watching TikTok while Pamina is singing about ending her life? Or better, singing wholeheartedly along? Discuss fantasy football league with your friend 2 rows behind you, loving that. I think that's a great idea, and we can go even further, come on. As we all know, the boxes in those old European opera houses are there so the rich and the beautiful could have extramarital sex to live music. A forgotten tradition selflessly brought back by Lauren Boebert last year while attending a performance of Beetlejuice. You are my hero.
If you want silence, I propose that that's what your living room is for. Like, we have recordings now. You can listen to performances in absolute silence. Opera tradition number 4 that I think is ridiculous: no food or drinks. Mostly the drinks.
Whew. Well, that's a tricky one. I'm not sure if that would make the visit to the opera house more enjoyable. Maybe it's just me, but I find the sound of someone munching potato chips or the fizzle, is that the right word, of an opening beer can, well, I find this somewhat irritating as the background to Desdemona's Ave Maria, or as additional soundtrack to the melancholic intro to Philip's aria. I mean, there must exist a way to not go hungry or thirsty during the first 90 minutes until the break, right? Like eating the right amount or drinking sufficiently before leaving the house, or having a pit stop in a restaurant on your way to the theater, or for the intermission, bringing a little backpack with you filled with yummy sandwiches and some alcoholic beverages of your choice, huh?
That's brilliant.
Again, it's maybe just me, but this seems to me like such a Marie Antoinette problem that I have a little bit lost interest in that topic. Unfortunately, I don't have any cake, so a Twix has to do. No. Next.
Okay, this one's gonna be tough. It's gonna be tough. Something I really hate are these bare bones, crazy minimalist productions where there's like barely any set, or like the set is really abstract. There's like the barest hint of a costume, you know? Like those very, what does it all mean kind of interpretations of opera. This is a whole genre of operatic direction, especially in Europe. These are huge directors, like giant famous opera houses that are doing this, and I have to wonder, like, who's this for?
Sorry, still fighting with the Twix. Okay, we are talking about modern staging again. Who is this for?
Like, I'm going to see Traviata. I want Violetta in a ball gown. I want champagne. I want the curtain to lift and everything is just like dripping with golden paint.
Yeah, I totally agree. More opulence is what we desperately need.
Maybe if opera houses just said, okay, we're going to be doing the music of La Boheme, but just so you know, we've taken the roof off the top of the opera house and also everyone's wearing green. That's the concept. Okay. Like, I'm glad good for you. Have fun with that. I won't be going.
There are usually several ways theaters communicate to their audience beforehand what to expect from a new production, through newspaper or online articles, through interviews with the leading team, or through matinees. In addition, I would say that the citizens of New York or of Hildesheim, a small town in northern Germany with a lovely little opera house, that they know what to expect from their theater. Theaters have most of the time a very specific style. Theaters in smaller, more rural locations often set the operas in a more traditional manner. Great. Opera houses in big cities tend to produce in a more contemporary and modern way. Great as well. I don't think that there is some advertising misleading going on. If you want to see a basketball game,
here's Clark, 4 seconds left. Clark fires. You bet!
You look up when and where these games are happening, so you don't end up in Flushing Meadows and have to cry through a match between Roger Federer and Novak Djokovic. That would be bad. Same is true for opera productions. A quick two-minute research in the internet tells you all you need, and then you can make an informed decision.
I mean, look at this. It looks like a budget crisis. Like, okay guys, we can't actually afford a set and costumes for Turandot, so we're just gonna put all the singers on stilts and call it intellectual.
Again, please tell me where I can see opera singers on stilts. I would love to see that.
And then you're finally convinced to go see Carmen because you had a brief but very intense crush on Esmeralda when you were 11.
You like Carmen because you had a crush on Disney's Esmeralda when you were 11? I think that's adorable. I love it. But you were not 11 anymore when you went to see Carmen, right? And yet you were still disappointed that there was no Disneyland on stage? Or its Carmen equivalent, the touristy postcard Spain. Please tell us about your nightmare a few years later when you went to see Carmen in Amsterdam.
But then the curtains open and there's no set. No Spain, no cigarette factory, no jail, not one gypsy skirt in sight. Just an empty stage covered in sand.
No set, no Spain, no cigarette factory, no jail, not one gypsy skirt, just an empty stage covered in sand. First of all, it's a bit cringy to call Sinti and Roma by this derogatory name. And then, here are some photos of this production from the Amsterdam Opera website. Just sand? I guess if you want to see just sand, then sand is all you will see. There would be much more to talk about, but this video is already pretty long. So let me end with the promised quote from the guy who brought you hits like Gounod's Faust, Boileau's Mephistopheles or Massenet's Werther. I'm talking, of course, about the German poet Johann Wolfgang von Goethe. The quote in my mind is about tradition, or about the relationship between the past and the present. It's very short, but nevertheless very, very powerful. So, it's from his drama Faust, and it goes like this. Was du ererbt von deinen Vätern hast, erwirb es, es zu besitzen. In plain English, what you have inherited from your fathers, you have to make it your own in order to really possess it. Okay, that's clearly an F for my translation skills, but you get it, right? It's not enough to put your inheritance into a glass showcase, but you have to use it in your own way, different from your father's way, to give it the value it deserves. There you have it. What's your opinion about those 5 traditions? Yes or no to original language, to modern set design and staging, to silence in the auditorium, to eating and drinking during during a performance. Oh. Let me know in the comment section below. And please, visit Kate's channel, Scores Unstitched. There are many videos to explore and it's absolutely worth watching all of them. My next video probably will be less talking and more music or so. Let's find out together. Until then, please take care and ciao.